And we're live. Oh, shit.
Coaches. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, they can't hold a flame against you, ay. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, got the game, it ain't no issue, yeah. Blowing the whistle, I had enough with you, the championship, it is gone. Ain't listen to you, I can't give it to you, cause you don't know what I've been on. This is the Coaches Podcast.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Fantasy Coaches Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Coach Steve. We are talking Week 7 starts and sits, guys. The whole crew is with us today. Let's bring them in. Coach Gibbs, what is going on, brother?
Hey, not much, man. Just enjoying this week so far. I know it's been a little frigid up here in the Northeast, but it's football weather now. We're getting to the nitty-gritty of the season.
It is. I did not like
John
that.
knows about that football weather.
Yeah,
John's got the nice weather, at least this coming part of the year now.
I'll be honest. It dipped good. It dipped down below 80 today, so it was it was. I mean, people were freezing around Florida, but no, I remember the football weather days from Boston. I feel for you guys. It gets cold. It gets super cold.
Sure. I think we had almost a frost on our windshields this week, so a couple of days. So it's
I don't miss it.
We're getting there. So, but it's all good, guys, because we're talking Week 7 football, and hopefully all of our waiver wire helped you guys pick some players up this week, so we can talk about them and some other players that might help you guys win your Week 7 matchup, because we have to deal with the bye weeks of some of the greats, the Eagles, the Vikings, the Rams, and the Bills. So it's a lot of fantasy players there. Some players might get bumped up because of that. So we're going to get into it all today. But first, let's get into the news. All right, there's a couple things going on. Andy Dalton is going to probably start tonight, Thursday Night Football. Without Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry, Jameis Winston is a third-string emergency quarterback, so it seems like he might not be ready yet, but Andy Dalton is taking the reins in this offense here. Deshaun Jackson signs with the Baltimore Ravens practice squad this week. A couple other things. Damien Harris, a full participant, and Jonathan Taylor, a full participant. Is Damien Harris coming back? Does that really drop down Ramondre Stevenson this week, guys?
I mean, it just limits the upside. I mean, you can still start both players. It just takes away the idea of like a 150-yard 2-touchdown game. I think it sucks because it muddies up the backfield. But now they just both become low-end RB2s in my mind.
I do agree. Low end RB2s. I was loving the short Ramondre season that we had. Hopefully
it was fun for a day.
Back. Yeah, good, like week and a half. But yeah, not that much news. Just fire up Will Lutz.
yeah, definitely sucks. Ramondre Stevenson shares are hurting right now for sure. Should have sold him before after this last week was over, but I really thought Damien Harris had another week at least on the bench. We'll wait to see. It's a Monday night game, so.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the players who didn't practice this Thursday, DJ Shark, Jahan Dotson got hurt back at practice today. Josh Reynolds, Kadarius Toney, J.K. Dobbins, and Mark Andrews is definitely a surprise. Did not practice Wednesday or Thursday. Definitely a little concerning. If you have Andrews starting, you might want to go pick up Isaiah Likely now, if you can, on your bench, just in case. Maybe he plays. It's not a big deal. But 2 back-to-back days with a knee injury definitely doesn't scream greatness. So just keep yourself prepared. Keep your eyes open. Obviously, we'll know a lot more on some of these injured players come Friday. But again, there's not a ton of actual news because obviously we already know that we have to wait till Friday to actually hear about some of these reports. So we'll get right into our talk today, guys. Before we do, let's talk about what happened last week. How did we do last week, guys? How do you guys think you did last week?
Terrible.
I got him in front of me. I think I did okay. I stunk at running back. I picked 2 duds, but I did okay other than that.
All right. So what I have here, I did the worst. I went 5-7 this week. My only good hits were Drake London and Mike Williams were busts. Hayden Hurst was a bust. Daniel Jones had a nice sleeper game. In terms of Coach Gibbs did really well. He went 7-4 this past week,
Let's
actually.
go. Fire.
Najee
Damn.
Harris and Kareem Hunt being a bust. Let's see. Alec Pierce is a nice sleeper. CeeDee Lamb as a bust. Dallas Goedert as a bust. Jimmy G is a sleeper. Justin Herbert as a bust. Pretty good week overall for Coach Gibbs.
Fire up,
Coach
baby.
John. 6 for 6. He still continues to split even on all his picks. Some good ones. James Robinson is a bust. Chris Godwin is a sleeper. Jerry Jeudy is a bust. Hunter Henry is a sleeper. Kirk Cousins is a sleeper. And Carson Wentz as a bust this past week here. So, yeah, not a great start for me last week, but we'll hope to do better. And we will do better because that's what we're here to do, to help you guys win championships here. So we have Cameron. Hey, Cameron, you're back, buddy. What's going on?
Cameron.
All right. Hey, coach is dealing with some bye week issues. Aren't we all? Have to start Brandon Ayuk as my wide receiver too. Just picked up the Raiders defense off waivers. Hopefully they both have a solid week, ?
I'll tell you about Brandon Ayuk in a bit.
All right. Well, we'll get Cameron, just stick in. We'll know about Brandon Ayuk shortly.
And the Raiders D is a good pickup. They're playing the Texans. So I mean,
could be good. I mean, I have, unfortunately.
What are other options available to you, Cam? For defense, at least.
Yeah, Cameron, if you could let us know if there's any other defensive options. Now, it's okay if you missed the show, buddy, last show. That's all right. Can't expect you to be there every day. We appreciate it, though. We do appreciate it for sure. But let us know what other defenses there are. I mean, Raiders are okay defense. The Houston Texans haven't really done great, but I might be lying when we get to the start and sits talk. So we'll have to wait to then. But let us know if you have any other defenses on waivers. All right. So let's get into it. The RBs, guys. Starts and sits, the RB position. Coach Sean, you're first up, brother. What do you got?
All right. My first one is going to be Tony Pollard. This is the first start for me because I think we watched Zeke get in the end zone last week. The conversation is always going to be Zeke is the primary running back, but Tony Pollard has the ability to make 9 or 10 touches into a valuable fantasy day. And when you're playing against the Detroit Lions that can get run all over, all it takes is a few touches and a few big plays, and Tony Pollard's going to pay off. So I know it's always tricky because it's matchup dependent, and Tony Pollard is not that, set it and forget it flex that we thought he was going to be. But I think this is kind of the week where the stars align and he has a couple big plays and he gets double-digit fantasy points for you. So I'm starting Tony Pollard with as much confidence as I can.
Yeah, he has a fantastic matchup this coming week here. I'm going to give you some quick questions here. Travis Etienne, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, would you start Tony Pollard over those guys this week?
I would start him over CEH for sure. And then, I don't know, Etienne's been getting the work, been going well. So I would probably stick with Etienne, but close.
What about the other side here? Let's see. A.J. Dillon, James Robinson. Would you start Tony Pollard over those guys?
I would start him over both of those guys, yes.
Good, because he's ahead of them in the overall rankings this week on Fantasy Pro. So I want to give people a little bit of taste of what's around these players that you might be having. So, all right. Cameron's back. He said he's got the Bears, the Chiefs, the Texans, the Saints, the Steelers, the Lions, and Seattle.
Saints D tonight? You don't think so?
I don't think so. If anything, it's the Bears for me.
Against New England?
I don't think New England's offense is that impressive. No,
I don't think they're that impressive either. But if anyone can exploit your deficiencies, it's Bill Belichick, and I just think that we'll talk about Justin Fields later because he's on my list. But I just think it's gonna be a tough game for the Bears. I just really do.
Jibs, anyone else you like here, or are you gonna stick with the Raiders?
I'll stick with the Raiders.
All right.
On second thought, I think you got it right.
I'm on the Bears. John, what about you?
I guess I'll stick with the Raiders out of this group.
Right. 2 out of 3 beat me.
Yeah.
All right, Cameron, there you go. 2 out of 3. I'm the only one that's off them, but I'll explain why in a little bit. All right. We'll be back here. Coach Jibs, brother, what do we got for your first RB sleeper?
I got to find another one. Damn you, Coach Sean. But I'll go with my second. Kenyon Drake. So seen on your news segment, and it's Thursday afternoon. We got one more day, basically 2 more days, and there's still no positive statements regarding J.K. Dobbins and his knee issue. And that leaves Kenyon Drake to showcase his talents versus the Cleveland Browns. The Browns have given up the 4th most points so far to the running back position. Out of the notable players, only one running back has failed to reach 10 half PPR fantasy points, which was Cordell Patterson after he got hurt in week 4. Over the last 2 games, the Browns have given up 4 rushing touchdowns, 1 receiving touchdown, 298 yards rushing to the likes of Austin Eckler, who had 178 rushing yards, Josh Kelly, who had like 49 rushing yards, and then Ramondre Stevenson had 2 touchdowns and 86 rushing yards last week. So I think the the Baltimore Ravens might be without Andrews. They might want to leave him on the ground. You never know, but their rushing attack is going to be full in force, and I like Drake this week.
Yeah, no, definitely. I do like Drake a lot as a good sleeper for sure. Let me ask you, Jibs, would you start Kenyon Drake over Tyler Algier, James Robinson, maybe AJ Dillon?
Oh,
would you take a shot over AJ Dillon, who's been pretty bad?
I think I would.
I think you would. Okay.
All 3
guys. All right. Just wanted to try to do a little something different here on the show. So, all right, I like it. All right, so for my first sleeper, guys, I have here, if I can pull it back up here, my paperwork here. There he goes. First sleeper is Brian Robinson. I know Robinson hasn't played that efficient since he's been coming back from the last 2 weeks due to his incident, but he is carrying the workload on the ground, and he's had the most snaps this past week on Thursday night. And the Packers now, the Packers still give up yards. They've been doing a lot of that recently here. They gave up the 11th most fantasy points per game to running backs. They actually allowed the 2nd most rushing yards on the season. They get destroyed up in the middle of the field there. Brian Robinson can run through the middle of the field very well. And while they weren't giving up many touchdowns to running backs, they have given up 4 touchdowns to running backs over the last 3 weeks now, 4 of them. And I think if this is a game where they maybe want to air the ball out a little bit, they want to start getting that run game going and established. I think it comes with Brian Robinson taking the helm this week. I think he's a pretty solid flex option overall. And if you're looking to start people, I mean, I'd rather start Brian Robinson than Ito Benjamin tonight. I would consider Clyde Edwards-Helaire, maybe Raheem Mostert. I'd want to start Brian Robinson over them at least. So there's some guys there. Definitely over guys like Algier and James Robinson. James Robinson. So I do like Brian Robinson a lot this week. So he's my first sleeper. Coach Sean, back to you, brother. Who do you have as your RB2 sleeper now?
My RB2 sleeper is, this one's tricky because this is like, to me, the trap door could really fall out from underneath me on this one. But hear me out. Jeff Wilson. I really like Jeff Wilson to bounce back. He had a horrible game. I think it just wasn't in the cards. They couldn't run the ball with anybody. Tevin Coleman, Ty Davis-Price didn't even get a touch. They ended up going through the air and getting their yardage that way. Kansas City is a good defense, but I think they're going to be opportunities to score often. And when they get down in the red zone, they do like to just run it in and get in there. I don't think they're going to, Kansas City's going to give up big plays to, Ayuk and George Kittle again. I think they're going to know, hey, if you want to beat us, we're going to make you go through the ground. And Jeff Wilson might get back to his, 15, 16 carries. It's not going to be great. Yardage wise, it'll probably be under 100 yards, but this game, this opportunity, the 49ers are going to have to score. And, he could have a touchdown or 2 in this game. And, so it's scary to say, but I'm okay, slotting in Jeff Wilson as your RB2 again this week and hoping for the best because he was on fire before last week's game.
Yeah, he was. He was doing very well, and I was trying to trade him before this week game came, and it bit me right in the face, and now I can't trade him for anything at this point because everyone expects Elijah Mitchell to come back sooner than later. But if you're starting Jeff Wilson potentially this week, John, are you starting him over guys like Dave Montgomery, Najee Harris?
Yes, I probably would actually. I would start him over both those guys, which is crazy. Montgomery, look, the talks about Khalil Herbert getting more involved is not good. So I just think that we talked about this on previous episodes that could be and should be more of a committee. And then you got Justin Fields running more. So I just don't know, really what the upside of Montgomery is. And we all know the coaches' team's feeling on Najee Harris right now. It's just, you can't start him until you see better things.
I like it. What about DeAndre Swift coming off injury?
That one I would probably play Swift.
Okay.
I would play Swift. I just think the talent is too high. He's coming off injury, but it's a bye week. So hopefully he's had enough time to recover and stuff like that, I don't think Jeff Wilson has the same upside that Swift ever has.
I respect it. Definitely. All right. Coach Jibs, over to you, brother. What do we got for your RB2?
I'm going to go with the guy I had last week as a bust, Kareem Hunt.
All right, all right.
I think he's going to turn it around for me this week. Stay within the same matchup, actually. The Baltimore Ravens actually allow the 15th fewest, or right in the middle, 15th fewest points to running backs. We see Nick Chubb. He's a pure running back on that team. He's rushing for tons of yards, except last week. But the Ravens also allow the 4th most receiving yards to running backs, which is more in Kareem Hunt's favor. So I expect him to get back on track. He at least gets targeted in the passing game, so Jacoby Brissett is not looking for him, at least. So I think he'll have a good chance to pile up some receiving work this week, along with his 8 to 10 rushes that he gets.
All right. I don't hate it. Now you start him over like the Denver Broncos RBs. You start him over Tyler Algier, Jamal Williams potentially.
Melvin Gordon's done with me. I had needed 1.8 points last week. I lost by 0.5.
That's insane.
That sucks.
Okay, so done. Scrapyard. Don't mention to me. Who else we have here?
Tyler Algier. Any Denver's running back.
Nah, I'm done with Denver.
Okay, no Denver running backs. No Tyler Algier.
Nope.
Do you start Kareem Hunt over AJ Dillon?
I don't think so.
Okay. Just want to get a.
I think I'll still do Dillon.
All right, I respect it. All right. Yes, we are. We're all answering starting sit questions. So if you have any super, we will are answering some questions. So, all right. Marquise here has, should I trade Joe Mixon and AJ Brown for Devontae Adams or Ramondre Stevenson? And team PPR. My team is Burrow, Mixon, Jacob Sanders, Mont, Hopkins, AJ Brown, Higgins.
I wouldn't, because again, AJ Brown and Devontae Adams to me cancel each other out, and so then you have to look at it as Mixon and Ramondre. Like, that's not a fair trade. I think Mixon is still locked in top 10 every week. The touchdowns will come. It hasn't been there. Last week was a Jamar Chase game, but he's getting a lot of looks in the red zone. So I think the points will come for Mixon. There'll be better days ahead. I wouldn't make this trade.
Yeah,
no, someone's trying to sell high on it. My bad, Jess. What are you saying?
I said Mixon gets a lot of work. It's guaranteed work. It's just like not converting. That's it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, someone's trying to sell high on the Ramondre Stevenson prior to, Harris coming back. So I wouldn't make this trade. I'd keep Mixon. The offense will get better. The run game will get better. I know it hasn't been good, but it will. AJ Brown is a stud. Just hold on to the players for now. It's definitely you could maybe find a different trade, but definitely hold on to those guys for now. What's
next week?
Huh?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, wait till next week. If Monty doesn't bust out, try to see if you could flip that same trade and put Monty in there.
Maybe if Ramondre drops down.
Now that I would do. Monty and AJ Brown for Devontae Adams and Ramondre is a much closer trade. Like that's more I'd consider.
Gotcha. All right. So there you go, Marquise. Super. We'll get to your question in just a second. Let me finish my sleeper RB number 2 here real quick. All right. My sleeper RB is a real shot in the wall here, guys. It's Isaiah Spiller with the Los Angeles Chargers. And this is probably for deeper man leagues, or if you want to go through a Hail Mary situation. So Spiller hasn't played yet this season, so it's really hard to want to consider him a sleeper. I'm probably going to take an L already on this one myself, but they do play the Seahawks, who allow the 7th most fantasy points per game to running backs this coming season. They allow the 5th most yards. And it seems like over the last few weeks now, the Chargers want to get somebody as that RB2. 2 weeks ago, it was Joshua Kelly. Then he got hurt. And then Sony Michel got in there, and he got some work. This is going to be the first game that Isaiah Spiller is going to be active for. And there was a reason why we liked him coming out of the draft. He's a big physical running back. If he could get on the field and he can show something, maybe they work him in this offense week 1. Maybe not, but it's a long shot. But I would not be surprised if Spiller ends up having a good day if that's the case. So he's my second RB sleeper. It's a hard one to kind of convince people to play, but keep that out there. Maybe just pick him up if he's out there on waivers. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's certainly a stash and grab at this point. But you're probably holding on to dead weight somewhere on your roster, and
exactly,
Isaiah Spiller's worth it. I didn't know he was playing this week. That's interesting.
Right. Yeah, Marquis said, thanks. Really didn't want to take, really wanted Adams, but didn't want to take a huge hit at RB for him. Definitely a good choice.
No.
Yeah.
All right, super. Let's get to your question. PPR, I need a flex. Olave, Mike Williams, Kirk, Ito Benjamin, Mostert, and Brian Robinson. Oof.
Okay.
That's tons of flips.
Me, it comes down to Olave and Mike Williams. That's what it comes down to for me. We can delete everyone else at this point.
Yeah, it's Olave, Mike Williams. I mean, Mostert's.
And PPR though,
Yeah, even in PPR. Yeah, I probably would still Olave, Mike Williams. Yeah, Christian Kirk has just been declining after the past 3 weeks.
it's a tough matchup.
Benjamin's got a tough matchup. I'm not trusting, and then Brian
They all have
Robinson's not gonna catch the ball, so it's
No, he hasn't caught a
useless.
target yet this season. So
I would probably roll with Olave. Honestly, I think I'd take my chances with Olave with Mike Thomas out and Jarvis Landry out. They're gonna have to throw the ball. He could see 8-9 targets easy. So I guess I'd take Olave.
Jibs.
Wow, crash and burn.
I'm gonna go Olave too. I think because without Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry there, the targets have to go somewhere. They have to. Andy Dalton's gonna find a way. They're gonna find ways to get Chris Olave the ball now that he's back. He didn't suffer a major injury; it was a concussion. So I'm gonna go Olave there too.
I'll go Olave, but I don't like it at all.
It's hard to play a Thursday night player. I get it,
Yeah.
but someone has to catch the ball. I don't think this is gonna be a 13-14 game. I think this might be more in the 20s, hopefully. So I'm hoping for a 20-something game. And I think Olave gets his game at least in with his target share. So, and Keenan Allen's coming back, so it could hurt Mike Williams' target share there too. So, all right. Next situation here, bust. John, what do you got? RB bust.
So my first RB bust is pretty easy. He's kind of been on everyone's radar as a bust for the past couple of weeks, and that's CEH. We saw the snap counts go down. He started off hot, and we talked about him early in the season as this, very touchdown dependent producing running back. Well, the touchdowns have gone away, and he's not getting the touches. He's getting out touched by Jerick McKinnon. So I think that it's, one of those things where the clock might have struck midnight on CEH, where they're just going to start. They were riding the hot hand. He was getting touchdowns. Things were good. But now all of a sudden they're rotating 3 backs in and he's not getting all the work. He's not getting the red zone looks. Patrick Mahomes is still going to throw the ball any chance he gets. And so I'm off CEH. Also the matchup. They're the 4th toughest matchup against running backs. So they've allowed the 4th fewest points. So if you expect, CEH to get in the end zone and have big days, it's going to be against weaker and easier opponents. This one's a tough matchup, so I would sit him at all costs.
Yeah, definitely not liking what's going on there. It's going to be a tough matchup. I like it. Coach Jibs, what do you got for RB2 bust?
James Robinson.
All right.
And I know it's a bye week and we're missing prominent running backs, and the matchup's enticing because the Giants allowed the 6th most points to running backs. But I'm just worried about the optics, going straight what John said, snap count rate and just usage. Weeks 1 through 3, he averaged 56% of the snaps. He had 17 rush attempts and he averaged 76 rushing yards per game. And then the last 3 weeks, it dropped 13%. He's 43% of the snaps. He only gets 10 rush attempts per game. And he's only averaging 36 rushing yards per game. So he's losing a lot of work to Travis Etienne. I expect him to be a more prominent player in this backfield going up soon. And this makes him a touchdown-dependent running back. The Giants have been playing good, but I'm just kind of worried about James Robinson, even in this good matchup.
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like they're moving the change to the younger running back, even though I think they're relatively close in age. I think it's a year apart. But yeah, it's definitely tough. I think he's becoming that kind of TD dependent RB, which is not great for fantasy right now. So, all right. Look like Super has another question I didn't get to before. My RB situation is rough, but pick 2: Najee Harris, Damian Harris, Kenyon Drake, or Latavius Murray. PPR. I'll make it
super. This is rough. I'm sorry.
Kenyon Drake for sure. If there's no J.K. Dobbins, Kenyon Drake 100%.
Yeah. If J.K. Dobbins doesn't play, you have to start Kenyon Drake, and then I guess Damian Harris. I guess
I would go back to Najee still.
Yeah,
he's seeing the workload. I have to at least start Najee in this situation here. I don't know what Damian Harris is gonna give us. I don't know if Latavius Murray's 15 carries last week is legit or not.
Yeah, I'm not believing that at all. I'm not believing in Latavius Murray. I'm just not. I think Nathaniel Hackett is just an idiot and decided to run him into the ground for some reason. But yeah, I'm okay with Najee over Damian Harris coming off a hamstring injury, actually.
You agree, Jibs? All right.
I'm going Najee, and my sleeper.
Your sleeper. All right, there we go. Let's see. He said even with Justice Hill and possibly Gus Edwards playing.
I'm not worried about Justice Hill. Gus Edwards.
I don't think they give him the rock first.
I don't think they. Yeah, first game back off a major injury. It's like they might ease him into it. But we saw Kenyon Drake have a decent day with, I think, what did he only have like 12 carries last week? So, even if he's 10, 11, 12 carries, it'll be, he can do. He's one of those players that, again, can rip off a big run still. And the run game in Baltimore is good. They've always schemed it up well. So I think that if it's just, you don't want to be, and this is just years of playing fantasy. You don't want to be the guy with Latavius Murray in your lineup that gets 0.2 points. It's just like, that's because then you're like, oh, what was I doing trusting Latavius Murray in this hapless Broncos offense? Like, I don't know. I think the best game you saw out of Latavius Murray was last week for some random reason, but it won't happen again. I'm not buying into it.
At least Najee catches the ball.
Yeah,
if you want a safer option, go with both Harrises because Damian's going to see some work here. So if you wanted that safer option, but Kenyon Drake gives you potential upside. So
yeah.
All right. So I think it was my turn on the bust here now. All right. Yeah. So this is going to contradict myself a little bit here, Super. But my first bust is Najee Harris. But in the situation that you have, it makes more sense to play Harris. It really does.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't to say that Harris is going to have a bad game. He's been a big disappointment. He plays the Dolphins, who have allowed 5 touchdowns to RBs this season. But the yardage has been minimal. But it seems like if if Najee Harris can at least get a touchdown, his day might be saved. But again, the Steelers offense is a little shaky overall. They're the 7th worst run offense, the 5th fewest scoring team this coming season. It could be a bad game for him. It really could be. I hate to say that even though we just told you to start Harris, but in your situation, you have to start Harris. But if you could sit Harris, if you had a different option, if you had some of our sleepers, we'd probably want to start those sleepers over Najee Harris this coming week. It could be a bad game, but he might get enough yardage or possibly a touchdown potential to save his fantasy day. He needs 10 points. If he gets 30 yards and a touchdown, that's enough to get himself by. So, all right, John, over to you. Your second bust. What do you got?
My second bust is Eno Benjamin. I think that, Eno Benjamin, with all the work that he had last week against the Seahawks, which is a good matchup, only got you 8 points. And so that to me tells me that Eno Benjamin is not this plug and play when everyone's out, like he's an automatic. He's just, it's just, I think with people starting to come back, Keontae Ingram's going to get some more work. They're going to look to the rookie there. James Conner might even be active for this game, and then you have no point in playing Eno Benjamin. But even still, I'm assuming Conner is out, you get DeAndre Hopkins back. Kyler Murray's going to want to throw the ball. I think it's just set up for failure with Eno Benjamin in a bad matchup against New Orleans. New Orleans isn't going to let Eno Benjamin run for 100 and a score. They're just not going to do it. So I would. I don't know if you drop Eno Benjamin yet, but people are going to get healthy any day now in Cardinals for Arizona, and you're going to be left holding the bag, kind of like the people with Jeff Wilson, which I get. Like he's useful, but Jeff Wilson is useful when no one else is around. Where I don't think Eno Benjamin is super useful. I think last week we saw, the most you're going to get out of him, 8 points, 9 points. It's like I don't know. It doesn't help you win games. So I would sit Eno Benjamin if possible.
All right. I like it. Coach Chips, what do you got for your second RB bust? Oh, your mic's not on.
I'm going to go with Dameon Pierce.
Dameon Pierce. All right.
Wow.
I don't hate it.
He should have all the work in the world to keep him lineup worthy. But I'm slightly worried about his matchup. He'll face the Raiders, who happen to give the 14th fewest points to running backs. Teams are just throwing all over the Raiders, if you ask me, which is helping their rushing yards allowed. But the Raiders will give up only 82 rushing yards per game. They only allowed 2 rushing touchdowns so far, and only 3 running backs so far this season has broke 50 yards against them. That would be Henry with 86, McKinnon 54, and the surprising Darrell Williams with 59 rushing yards. So obviously he gets a touchdown, and this guy's probably going to get 20 plus carries. I think he'll fall into some work, but he's going to need all the work for him to have a good day, in my opinion.
All right. I respect that for sure. All right.
So what's your little thing for that? Like 10 points? I think you get that. But
maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But I'm the type of person where like 6, 7, 8, 9 points, like that doesn't help me at all. Like it's like, I mean, it's fine, but like I'd rather take the chance at someone who could give me 2 points or could give me 20 points. Like there's players out there that have that type of variance. Sometimes like those safe, like, oh, I know he's going to get me 8 points. It's like, all right, great. Like I'll take my chances with someone who could really blow up.
Right.
Yes, sir.
All right. Like it. All right. My second bust here, guys, is David Montgomery. Patriots have allowed the third fewest fantasy points per game to RBs. They haven't actually led a touchdown rushing to an RB yet this coming season. And David Montgomery's just been so inconsistent with his rushing ability. He's been very, very ineffective on the ground, while outside of unless he gets like 4 or 5 catches, his day's pretty shot. So in a game where it's a tough matchup already, I think the Patriots will just gobble up this whole run team for this Bears here. And he's splitting time with Khalil Herbert. It's not a good situation overall. If you can find a way to sit Dave Montgomery this week, I would be doing so right now. All right. So let's get over to the wide receivers now. All right. John, first wide receiver sleeper. Who you got?
First wide receiver sleeper is not a super sleeper, but it's Michael Gallup. I think, Dak coming back. Michael Gallup's looked good in his return, and this Detroit game is going to be a high-scoring game. It's going to be a high-scoring affair. And Dak coming out again. Dak to me is the wild card in this game because he could be healthy, but his thumb could be bothering him. How's he throwing the ball? All those different things. But Gallup is enough work and enough talent and I think Dak's taken the time to get his body right, where he could have a big game. Having Amari Cooper, having Michael Gallup, having Amari Cooper gone has opened up room for Michael Gallup to really grow. And CeeDee Lamb is obviously the alpha there, but he's the type of player, Michael Gallup, that gets looks downfield. And so it's better to have an alpha because it pulls the number one coverage off of him. I think he could be in for a couple big plays against Detroit. And this is, again, Michael Gallup is the type of player that if he blows up, if he has 1 or 2 big touchdowns, like that's the type of boom I want in my flex.
All right. I like it. I like it a lot there. Would you start Michael Gallup over like DJ Moore, Bob Woods, Darnell Mooney this week?
100%.
All 3 of them?
Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
what about
100%.
the other side here? Jerry Jeudy, Romeo Doubs.
We'll talk about Jerry Jeudy in a sec, in a few seconds. But yep, I'd probably do that. Romeo Doubs, probably. I really like Gallup as like a top 25 play this week.
All right. I like it. Jibs, what do you got for your first wide receiver bust? Sleeper. Okay. Sorry.
Sleeper. He's not really a sleeper technically with all the buys this week, but I'm expecting like a lot of fantasy managers have prominent wide receivers ahead of him possible. So Brandon Ayuk, and just like last week, I would expect Kansas City to put off an offensive affair, and this is going to make the 49ers have to be more pass happy than they might have to be. So maybe a little bit less rushing, but Kansas City allows the second most points to wide receivers this year. They're tied for the most touchdowns allowed to wide receivers, 9 so far. They're averaging 1.5 touchdowns to a wide receiver per game. So there's a good shot he could get that with this rapport with Jimmy G, or maybe possibly Debo sneaks it. But there's only been one game where a wide receiver didn't score a touchdown against him. That was week 3 versus the Colts. So I just think it's all in his favor to be at least like a prominent wide receiver, get good yardage, and hopefully he finds the end zone. So I think he's a good sleeper.
I like it. I think he has the potential to really do well. It's a favorable matchup for the 49ers this week. So I like it. All right. My first sleeper at wide receiver this week, guys, it's Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce is going up against the Titans, who allowed the second most fantasy points per game to wide receivers. They also have allowed 8 touchdowns to wide receivers over the first 5 weeks. And Pierce had his first good game against the Titans last time around, 4 for 80. And since then, he's had at least 3 straight games over 10 fantasy points. He hasn't really hit that boom week yet, but I think it could be coming in a matchup that's very favorable. And it seems like Maybe Jonathan Taylor doesn't go nuts yet in his first game back, but it could involve Matt Ryan's arm once again. And last week, it kind of worked out for the Colts wide receivers. So I'm going out like Pierce is my first wide receiver sleeper. All right, John, wide receiver sleeper 2, who you got?
I think anyone who listens to the show is probably sick of me bringing up this name, but it's Chris Olave. I love Chris Olave. I just love everything about him. I love the fact that he's getting targeted, the fact that he's getting targeted downfield, the fact that the Saints, apparently can't stay healthy outside of Chris Olave. So you're going to have another game without Michael Thomas, without Jarvis Landry taking targets. So it's going to be Olave getting 10 plus targets again, and they're going to be 40 yards downfield. And so, yeah, it might not be pretty. He's not going to connect on every single one, but all it takes is 4 or 5 catches for Chris Olave to make your day. And so I'm excited. I love the player. I'm excited to get him back in all my lineups. So I think people should feel confident too.
Yeah, hence why we were talking about him as one of those starts this week. So definitely like it. So, all right, Coach Jibs, what do you guys are sleeper wide receiver 2?
Donovan Peoples-Jones. The Ravens give the 4th most points to wide receivers. In addition, they give the 3rd most receiving yards per game. They give up 198 yards. Donovan Peoples-Jones isn't a force of nature, but he has come alive over the last 3 games. He at least recorded 4 receptions in each game and has 50 yards receiving. So you have at least a solid floor of 8 PPR points. I only need 2 more for him to be not a sleeper candidate. So I think this would make you feel nice to be at least a wide receiver 3 in your lineup and a flex in a pinch in deeper leagues, but I like his prospects this week.
I've been trying to trade for DPJ in a lot of leagues before Deshaun Watson comes back. I really have, because it's just, I think he's a good little piece that you can get super cheap, and he might become very flex worthy with Watson back.
I like it. Jibs, would you be starting Donovan Peoples-Jones over guys like the Jets wide receivers, Hunter Renfrow, Chase Claypool?
I'm starting them over the Jets receivers, Chase Claypool. Hunter Renfrow, I probably won't, even though he hasn't really done much. But I know Waller
on the report today with a hip injury.
Well,
that's not good.
That's not good. So yeah, it's green light. But Hunter Renfrow, if he does play, he should be a little bit more relevant with Darren Waller not playing, hypothetically.
All right,
I want to put it like that.
I respect it. All right, I like it. All right, so over to my second wide receiver sleeper here. I went with Nico Collins. Like I said, that's why I kind of like this, Houston's offense a little bit this week. The Raiders give up the 12th most fantasy points per game to wide receivers, and I expect Houston to kind of get the passing game going. They had a bye week. Hopefully they solve some things, even though they want to give Dameon Pierce 20 carries a game. But I think that's unrealistic each and every single week. You have to get the passing game going. And over the last 2 weeks prior to their bye week, Nico Collins had 7 catches for 147 yards. So I think his time could be coming. I talked about him as a potential sleeper coming into the season, and I think his time is coming. And I think in a favorable matchup, I would be taking a shot on Nico Collins this week as a flexible option. All right, let's go over to the bust now. John, who's your first wide receiver bust?
First wide receiver bust is going to be, I don't know I'll go Christian Kirk first.
All
right. Look, I think Christian Kirk and the Jacksonville Jaguars, it started off great. It started off hot and everyone wanted a piece of it. The problem is Christian Kirk has now slid to the outside. He's not playing in the slot as much. And so I think just Trevor Lawrence is not looking his way. He's just spreading the ball around. The emergence of ETN in the running game has just changed things and to change this offense. Whereas, they needed Christian Kirk to be that guy because they had no other pieces, no other way to really move it. But Trevor Lawrence is starting to get comfortable. He's starting to go through his progressions and he's not locked in on one target anymore. So the volume has gone away. And so Christian Kirk without volume, we have seen put up single digit, numbers. He saved his day with a touchdown last week. But if he didn't have that touchdown, it would have been 2-3 duds in a row. I think it's time to sit Christian Kirk until things heat back up.
Yeah, he was obviously one of my busts, so I definitely agree with you on that situation. Definitely disappointing on what Christian Kirk has been giving us over the last few weeks now, so I like
Oh,
it.
everyone thought they struck gold in their like middle round of Christian Kirk. It's like, and I did too. I was psyched about him. I loved it. I loved everything I saw on paper, and then all of a sudden, I don't know what it is, but this offense has just gone away from him.
I mean, the whole offense has been kind of disappointment over the last few weeks here now. So hopefully they can find a way to turn it around. I mean, they haven't won a game in 3 weeks now, so we'll see. Jibs, what do you got for us?
Terry McLaurin, and we have seen a sample size how he will perform with Taylor Heineke at quarterback, and I still don't like his chances this week. Green Bay does not allow wide receivers the ball that much. They give up the 4th fewest receiving yards so far this year. They haven't allowed a wide receiver score a touchdown in 2 weeks, and basically, like, I think he will have to have at least 7+ targets based off like some of the game log statistics. Like you'll see Justin Jefferson had 9 receptions, 34 fantasy points. You'll see that Gage had 12 receptions. They had 18 half PPR. These are half PPR stats too, by the way. And then lastly, Darius Slayton, he had 6 for 79 and he had 10.9 PPR points. So, like, I think he's going to have to get a lot of work. But like I said on the waiver wire show, I'm just kind of worried that Washington Commanders changed their offensive philosophy with the amount of running backs they have to get work, like Robinson, your sleeper, or just have to get Gibson involved, like Rivera said. So, and they still have McKissick. So I'm just kind of worried about their rushing ability going ahead and then kind of just leaving the wide receivers out to hang and dry. So, and he hasn't really performed for you either.
Yeah, definitely not. He's been very, very mediocre at best, wide receiver 3 status kind of player. So I like it. All right. So for one of my 2 wide receiver busts, I went with Drake London. 3rd straight week in a row, I'm actually picking Drake London, and it's worked out.
Come on, rotate somebody, dog.
Huh?
Rotate somebody.
No, I mean, I had people think like, oh, he'll bounce back. I know it's not happening still. The Bengals allow the 9th fewest fantasy points per game to wide receivers this season. They've only allowed 2 wide receivers to score a touchdown. And over the last 3 games now, Drake London has failed to produce 50 yards, and he had a season-low 4 targets this past week. And it doesn't seem like it seems like Mariota isn't going to just force the ball to his stars. He's going to find a way to win games, whether that's other players or using his legs. So if you're thinking about going back on the Drake London train, do not buy that ticket. Just think about it maybe next year. Well, maybe in a couple of weeks at least. But for now, no Drake London this week, guys. I'm out.
Yeah, it stinks. I wish, and this was the problem all off season. I was thinking to myself, because I wanted to believe in Kyle Pitts. I wanted to believe in Drake London. But to me, it was always a Marcus Mariota problem. And so once they figure out their quarterback, I think that offense is going to be great. But until then, it's just super limited.
Yes. All right, John, what do you got as your second RB wide receiver bust?
My second wide receiver bust is Jerry Jeudy. I think he saw a couple targets, had a couple big plays recently, but again, I think there is so much broken in Broncos country right now. Like, I don't want anything to do. I mean, you can start Sutton if you have to, because he's just going to get the volume, but it's not going to be pretty. I don't want any of the ancillary pieces. I don't want to play this running back roulette. I don't want to do, I think I'm at the point where I don't even want to start Russell Wilson. Like, it's bad in Broncos right now. So he gets to go up against the Jets, and the Jets secondary has looked great ever since the addition of Sauce Gardner. So I think that they're going to have a tough time at throwing the ball. And Jerry Jeudy is a great talent in a vacuum, but the situation is just too much to overcome right now. He's just another sit and wait because the talent is there. So you can't really cut him or drop him. And no one's going to want to trade for him. No. So it just sucks because you expect more out of these pieces going into the season, but I think I don't know if it's Hackett. I don't know what it is, but it's just, that offense looks atrocious, which is just insane to think about.
That's right.
That's right.
What do you got with your second a wide receiver bust?
It's your boy, Chris Olave.
Wow.
Yes, it is. And like you probably heard it constantly on this show, but Arizona is so stingy against wide receiver ones. I don't care if he's the only wide receiver on the field. The likes of Juju only had 8.9, Adams 8.9 half PPR. Cup had the best game. He only had 14 and a half PPR fantasy points. You know who had the third best game, by the way? DJ Moore, which is 9.1 fantasy points. So, like if he's gonna have all the work given to him in the world, I'm just kind of scared that like even AJ Brown last week only had 4.4 fantasy points. Like they're doing a fantastic job against number one. So without the lack of options there, he could be in a little bit more trouble. Maybe they could blanket him. Maybe it's a Juwan Johnson day.
I like the split we got going today. It probably could be Juwan Johnson day.
Of course it will be.
I got a question on Twitter here. Guys, would you drop DJ Moore for Darnell Mooney?
I was thinking about this too.
Redraft, yes. Yeah, I probably would, I guess.
See, I'm still on the no train. Did you guys say yes? Two of you say yes?
I would, yeah.
All right. That's the first question. And then would you start Wan'Dale Robinson over both of them?
Who?
Wan'Dale Robinson.
Oh, yeah, I would take Wan'Dale over both of those guys.
Yes, sir.
I would take 100%.
I agree on, yes.
100%. I would take my chances. I would much rather take my chances that Wan'Dale turns into something than what we've seen out of those two players this season.
All right. There it is.
Why do you still have hope on DJ still, Steve?
What?
Real quick.
Maybe Sam Donald comes back and something picks up there. Robbie Anderson being traded maybe gets him more targets. It's mostly what I'm waiting to see personally. I mean, I want to see another week. We'll see what happens. Not a great matchup though, but I want to wait another week. I mean, Darnell Mooney hasn't done anything better, so I mean, I'd rather hold on to the more talented wide receiver. Even though I like Mooney, I think DJ Moore is a more talented wide receiver.
Should I trade Jeff Wilson to the 0-6 team for DJ Moore?
Absolutely. Jeff Wilson's time will come at some point where it's going to be done.
Yeah.
Now.
All right, I'm going to send it.
I love it. All right. All right. My second wide receiver bust here, guys. I went with Juju Smith-Schuster this coming week. I know Juju had himself a big game this past week, but it's his first touchdown of the season. He wasn't really doing much prior to that in terms of fantasy points. And the 49ers allow the fifth fewest fantasy points per game to wide receivers this coming season. They've actually only allowed 2 wide receivers to score on them. And the ball's so spread around. It's incredibly difficult to determine if Juju's going to score again. And I think he needs a touchdown to actually keep himself fantasy relevant. I don't know if he's going to do that on a week-to-week basis. So for me, I'm not going to just jump on this hot train that he had last week. I'm going to cool it down a little bit and wait to see what happens. So he is my second wide receiver bust. All right, let's get over to some tight ends here. Sleeper tight end. John, what do you got?
My sleeper tight end is Hayden Hurst. Hayden Hurst, we've talked about, has a good floor. He's getting 4 or 5 targets a week, which is all you can ask for out of a tight end. The matchup this week is pretty good. They're kind of middle of the pack against tight ends, allowing over 50 yards, 3 games so far this year. And I just think Hayden Hurst this is a week where he's going to do that typical, 6 for 55 and a score. And that's all you can ask for sometimes out of the tight end market. The tight end market's just so desperate where give me anyone who could get me, a touchdown and some points and I'll take. And so I think, last week was a tough game for him, but it's a bounce back for sure. Hayden Hurst, I'm rolling the dice again.
All right. I like it. Hayden Hurst it is. Coach Jibs, what do you got for your sleeper?
Juwan Johnson. I won't recommend a Thursday night player typically, but the scenario is surrounding the team with just Olave being like the primary go-getter, Trotman's out, and then that's going to leave Juwan Johnson, Kamara, and Chris Olave to lead the pack with Andy Dalton. So still Falcons give up the 4th most points to tight end so far this year. They give up the 3rd most receiving yards per game. It's just a hot streak. This is the free space on the tight end board. The situation around the team is nice. I think he's lineup worthy for a tight end, especially for streaming.
Yeah, I definitely, if you're desperate enough for a tight end this week, that is a great, fantastic way to go. Just throw him out there, see what happens. My tight end sleeper this week is Greg Dulcich. He was the Denver Broncos tight end rookie who just came off the IR and put up 40 yards in the touchdown, first game back, and played over 70% of the snaps in his first game. The Jets allow the 5th most yards to tight ends this season. I know it's hard to trust a Denver Bronco player at this point, but someone needs to catch the ball. The secondary for the Jets are fantastic, likely going to shut down any type of wide receiver for the Denver Broncos, which allow Dorojic, I can't say his name right, but allows him to be able to kind of see the middle of the field. And he's coming out of college. He was basically a wide receiver, but it was playing tight end. Something's got to give with him. I think Russell Wilson will look for him. Russ has to worry about getting the ball out quicker because of his injury. And, I like it. The Jets have allowed a tight end to gain over 80 yards in 2 of the last 3 games. I'm taking my shot on Greg Dortch. So he is my tight end sleeper this week. And he's definitely a good prop bet as well, guys. And especially for our sponsor, No House Advantage. And let me tell you about No House Advantage, guys. No House Advantage is changing the game by offering the most dynamic fantasy sports platform available today. Play in the Pick'em contest versus other people for a shot at winning $150,000 plus in cash. You download the app, you choose a contest, you select some player props, you earn points for each correct pick. Use my guy I just mentioned. And you climb the leaderboard for your shot at the big money every single day. You can also test your skills versus the house and win 20 times your entry if you hit all your picks. You bet up to 5 player props, over-unders, or individual players matchups across every major platform or every major sport league, including NFL, NBA, MLB, PGA, MMA, and NASCAR. Sign up with the promo code COACHES at nohouseadvantage.com or download the app at the app stores and get your first deposit match up to $25. Again, we've had people do it. They've loved it. You should definitely go out and try it. And you got to make sure you check out No House Advantage today. Experience daily fantasy sports redefined, because it's not just how you play, but it's also where you play. And you don't want to miss out on this credible offer for one of our great sponsors. Promo code COACHES, guys. Get $25 bet bonus matched on your first deposit. All right. So let's get back to some sleepers here. We're on the bus now, guys. Coach John, what do you got for your tight end bust of the day?
I almost want to switch it, but I'm not gonna. My tight end bust I had is Gerald Everett. I think Keenan Allen coming back really is going to cut into this workload. That's all it is. I think it's just Keenan Allen coming back, taking over that short to intermediate route running, opens up Mike Williams to do his deep route 50-50 ball thing, and just leaves Gerald Everett kind of as, a outlet behind the line of scrimmage or in an emergency. You become the 3rd, 4th read after Austin Eckler. It's like, I just don't know if Gerald Everett's really going to be this 6, 7, 8 target guy that we've seen in the past couple of weeks. So I think that it's going to start to fall off at some point. Maybe not this week with Keenan Allen coming back off an injury, but Keenan Allen being active should set off some alarm bells with Gerald Everett, that he's not just this locked and loaded tight end week in, week out anymore.
I like it. I like that one there a lot. I was surprised at first, but you explained it very well that I kind of agree with you a little bit now. So
yeah, I just think he's been necessary because they don't have anyone to kind of attack that, that 15-yard to 20-yard range. They just don't. And Gerald Everett's athletic enough. He's good enough. He can get it done. But Keenan, you can't compete with the route running of Keenan Allen. Like, Keenan Allen's going to be way more open every time. So I just think it's going to be tough, and if he drops down to 4 or 5 targets a week, that's big difference. It's a big difference in usage.
I agree with you. I like it. All right,
Plus,
Coach Gibbs.
Parham's back too.
And Donald Parham's is showing up.
Yeah. He's probably out this week though.
Jesus, okay.
He's got a concussion, Gibbs. You got to follow up on the injury, bro. That's why I'm here.
No. Well, I'm saying, like, even though he has a concussion, like, he will probably be back, and that's
at some point, right? Yeah,
season long.
I mean, we saw him on the field getting catches. I think this past. I was like, why is this not going to Gerald Everett? So I agree with you on that. Well, give us your bust at tight end.
Robert Tonyan, and like, it's just the fact that we haven't seen him put like back-to-back weeks together. It's just kind of been like an inconsistent, like, yo-yo. He'll have like a 10-point PPR day, then it'll be like a 6-point something. And he had this blow-up game last week, but what are we gonna get this week? And the Washington Commanders do give up the 3rd fewest points to the tight end so far. They only allowed 1 receiving touchdown to they only allowed 1 touchdown to a tight end and the 4th fewest yards to tight ends so far this season. And only 1 tight end has scored 10.5 PPR fantasy points against them. So that constitutes a bust out of 6 games.
Yeah, if he doesn't get 10 points, he's a bust.
Yes, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's gonna bust.
Exactly. I like it. All right. My bust at tight end is TJ Hawkinson. Really, outside of his blow up game, he really has not produced fantasy points for us this season. St. Brown and DeAndre Swift will be back, looks like, hopefully for this game. And Cowboys have been pretty solid against tight ends this season, allowing the third fewest fantasy points per game to tight ends. And they haven't allowed a touchdown to tight ends this season, and nor have they allowed a tight end over 50 yards. He hasn't really seen the production outside of that game, and it's hard for me to trust that inconsistency with TJ Hawkinson. If you can find another direction, I'd be looking to sit him if I could. So he's my tight end bust this week.
That's a good one.
All right. Thank you. If I can just get back to the screen here. All right. On to the QBs here. We'll finish up real quick. QB sleeper. John, who do you got?
QB sleeper, and he's not a sleeper, but people are going to be – I know questions are going to pour in on whether you can trust him yet, and that's Dak Prescott. If he's active against Detroit, you have to play him. There's too much upside to pass up. The score should be, I think the over-under I saw was 54.5. I think I bet the over on that. It's going to be a high-scoring game, whether it's through the air or whether it's passing to Tony Pollard. I think that if Dak is active, they're going to use him and try and see what they can do. And again, Detroit's, bottom third defense. And so I think Dak is good enough. The weapons around him are good enough to really beat up and attack a porous Detroit defense.
Yeah, I like it. It's definitely sleeper worthy because we haven't seen him play and it's coming off an injury. We'll see how that works.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. Coach Jibbs, who's your QB sleeper?
Prepare to have a new one. It's Davis Mills. Raiders give up the most fantasy points to quarterbacks so far. Additionally, 4 out of the 5 quarterbacks had more than 23 fantasy points against them, and every quarterback has more than 18 fantasy points against them. This is 4 point per passing touchdown scoring. So in a smaller sample size, the Raiders given up 6 passing touchdowns last 2 games. So he's looking like green lights go. I'm loving Davis Mills this week.
All right. Whatever. So since we all picked the 3 teams, I'm going to pick the other person who the people that are going against. All 3 of us picked the teams who have allowed the most fantasy points to quarterbacks this season, and it's Jimmy G. He had a pretty good, solid week this past week. Over 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, pretty solid. I expect them to kind of have to use him a little bit because the run game was so inefficient last week. I don't expect them to be able to get Jeff Wilson back going. No offense, John.
That's all right. I said it was a risky start.
I think if you're looking for a guy to replace for 1 week wonder, Jimmy G will give you a solid, production overall. So he is my sleeper at the QB position. We have a couple questions here. Let's get through them real quickly here. What up, guys? 2 questions: Jakobi Meyers or Deontay Johnson, and if also Hayden Hurst or Pat Freiermuth, both PPR.
I would do Myers and Hurst, probably.
All right.
I don't know if I'd play Deontay. The Hurst Freiermuth is a little bit closer, but it's Myers for me for sure.
I'm going Deontay and Hurst. So Jibbs, break the tiebreaker.
Myers and Hurst.
All right. Cavo, looks like Jakobi Meyers wins on this and Hayden Hurst wins on this. So, all right. Beat me on that one, guys. All right. Next one we got Jalen. Pick 3: JT, Eckler, Kamara, or Breece Hall.
This guy's just living the dream. This guy's just living the dream. This is
how are you?
Damn, I want your team.
Breece Hall for sure.
Yeah.
Even though it's a tough matchup, but he's just been balling. Can't stop that. Austin Eckler plays versus Seattle, 100%.
Yeah, and then
tonight.
You gotta play Jonathan Taylor, right? You can't sit
him.
Oh god!
I don't know. That's the thing. That's the thing. It's crazy to say it, but
it's tough, man. To be honest, the worst matchup is definitely Breece Hall, which that's the weird part.
Yeah, go with the 3 studs.
I mean, Breece Hall's a stud.
I know, but the 3 stud.
Go with the old heads.
Yeah, the old heads.
Yeah, I would definitely.
Kudos
it's so funny. Like that's a great
running backs do well on Thursday. I mean, there's no one else. Kamara's going to see 6 targets again. He's going to get 100 yards on the ground.
Yeah. It's funny.
Like start with Kamara. That's what I'll say.
Well, yeah. and Eckler too. I mean, you got to stay in the flames of Eckler. He's been great lately. So the question is Jonathan Taylor or Breece Hall, right? Like who are you starting out of those 2?
I kind of want to sit Jonathan Taylor a little bit.
I mean, that's spicy. Oh man,
look at this guy.
I mean, you could, like, you certainly could.
He said he preached Brees Hall off of waivers. What?
What?
Invite me to your league and tell them to make
Galen, let us in your
dual
league, please.
flex
I'd
league.
love to have a league where I can get Brees Hall off waivers.
From trade, man.
Oh,
That's fun. That's
Well, I
a
must have hated the first
that's
2
a fun
weeks.
running back core. If it makes you feel any better, I'm starting Kenyon Drake and Kareem Hunt in one league because my running backs are so bad. And I had Javonte Williams, he's gone. So don't count, just count your blessings, okay? Say a nice prayer that you have good running backs and that you have these decisions to make. That should be a blessing.
Yes. I think any 3 your pick is going to be good, honestly. I mean, Hall's got the worst matchup, so I mean, maybe I'll start the other 3. Hopefully JT takes another week off. Hopefully not, but for your sake, hopefully JT takes another week off and you can just start the 3 there.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Let's see. Let's get to the quarterbacks. Let's finish this quarterback bust real quick, and we'll get to any last questions we have. John, give us the QB bust you got real quick.
The QB bust I have is Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields' trajectory over the past few weeks has been going up. Passing attempts has gone up. He's running the ball. So you got a decent floor there. But like I said, the Patriots and Bill Belichick are very good at taking away what you're good at. And so I think what they're going to make Justin Fields do is beat him through the air. They're not going to let him just run all over the field and improvise and extend plays and do all that stuff. They're going to make him sit in the pocket and throw downfield and make plays. And I don't know if Justin Fields is that guy yet. I don't know if he has that ability to really, go through progressions and command an offense and dominate what is a good defense in the Patriots. So I think Justin Fields is interesting because he has been trending in the upwards direction. And I think it's, one of those things where you always look for rookie talent to break out year 2. And, I want to believe in him because I do love the kid and I love the talent, but I just don't think it's going to be this week. I think it's going to be another tough sub 15-point week, which out of your quarterback is horrible.
All right. I don't hate it. I don't think he's going to be good. So, Jibs, what do you got?
Same game, Derek Carr. Texans surprisingly only allowed 4 passing touchdowns this year.
Derek Stingley. that's that Stingley effect.
Yeah, and more surprising is only one quarterback that has more than 18 PPR points, and that was Justin Herbert with 21. So, given the lack of weapons and stuff going around, I just think Carr might just have an off day. I think he'll fail to meet his projections this week.
I like it. I like it a lot. Plus, you have to think that they might run Josh Jacobs a ton and give him opportunity to score in a favorable matchup for him. So there might not be a need for Derek Carr to score touchdowns in the air this week. So I like that. For me, guys, my bust is Russell Wilson. Please don't not start Russell Wilson at all this week. If you have him, please just drop him at this point. I mean, he has been so inefficient this coming season here now at this point. Jets have allowed just 1 passing touchdown over the last 3 weeks. Wilson has been dreadful. He's hurt. He gets sacked a ton, and the Jets have been just hungry for interceptions and sacks this season. It just seems like a terrible matchup. Stay away from Russell Wilson as quick and fast as you can.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's get over to this last question here, and we'll wrap things up tonight. Damo said, should I trade Brees Hall and Mike Evans for Joe Mixon and Jamar Chase? He has Dalvin, Najee, along with Godwin and Keenan. I would switch and put in Najee Harris and not Brees Hall if you can.
Yeah, but they probably, if the other manager is smart, they probably wouldn't do that. So I get why they're asking for Brees. I think this is one that is. See, because then you have Joe Mixon and Jamar on the same team, and I hate doing that. I hate stacking sometimes when you.
That's a bad stack.
That's a tough because it's just hard because both aren't going to go off on the same week, so it just limits your upside.
Now, see, he has Evans and Godwin.
I know. So that's the other thing. So it makes sense that you want to get rid of Evans. It totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. You want to get rid of Evans. I'd probably do it just because of how good Jamar is.
I'll do it too.
I won't. I'd rather keep looking for another trade to get Mike Evans off my team. I think Brees Hall is going to be fantastic the rest of this year. But
yeah,
they're not wrong. It's still a good trade. It's not a terrible trade. I would prefer not to personally. It's a fair trade. Let's say that. It's a fair trade overall. So you might be getting more value maybe with Mixon and Chase, but it's not for me.
I mean, yeah, if you could do Najee and Mike Evans for Joe Mixon and Jamar, like that's smash. Like 100% you do that. But I think the other managers probably not an idiot and is like, I'd rather Brees Hall. I'd much rather Brees.
Exactly. All right, we got Nick Patrone here. Would you trade Darrell Henderson, Tyler Lockett for? I'm assuming that means
Tyreek Hill. I'm gonna assume that's not Taysom Hill.
I'm assuming it's Taysom Hill.
You think Taysom Hill? I think that's Tyreek Hill.
Either or. Oh yeah, for either or. Absolutely, either or.
Yeah, I would trade Henderson and Lockett for Tyreek Hill
or Kelsey. Probably. Either
or Kelsey. I'd probably do it for Tyreek Hill. But either one, I'd pull the trigger for.
Yeah, I might do Kelsey just because he's a difference maker at that one position.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the only reason I would do that. But either or, whatever the guy's willing to do, just take it.
Mm-hmm.
If you could do Kelsey, if you could do Kelsey first and then Hill, yeah, that's a no-brainer trade. Either way,
you could probably get to be. I mean, redraft, maybe not. You could probably get. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I like that trade. I would do.
Sell high into Henderson now while you can.
Yeah.
And then finally, some news broke. Elijah Moore, New York Jets wants a trade out of New York.
I knew that was coming. Personal day, never a good sign.
Nope. Where would you like him at? Real quick before we end it, where would you like him at?
Elijah Moore, man, he could go
Green Bay.
Green Bay would be awesome. Green Bay would be awesome. He could go to a lot of places. He's that talented. He could go to a lot of places and instantly, be a solid 2 for any team, if not your 1. So I'll say, let's put him. Yeah, Kansas City. He's probably going to want to go to a team that's got some stability at quarterback. So Kansas City has been in the market. They keep saying they want OBJ. I mean, why not?
Or DJ Moore. I've heard that too.
Yep. I think, Kansas City would be an interesting one. I'll say just for the points, we'll go Kansas City.
All right. I like it, guys. All right. We're going to wrap things up there tonight, guys. Thank you all for who's tuned in to tonight's show and asked us as many questions as you did. We do appreciate that awesomeness there. Guys, John, anything you want to say before we get going?
I got nothing. I hopefully Olave does well so I can rub it in Jib's face next week. But other than that, no, I got nothing.
All right. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll be on the group text.
We'll be on the group text for sure. The group chat. The group text.
God, it's gonna be fun.
Pouring tears by like halftime. That's what I think.
I love it. All right. Jib, anything else or are you good?
Nah, I'm good, sir.
All right. So thank you all for listening. Once again, please go check out our website at www.thefantasycoaches.com. We have our articles, we have rankings, we have Dynasty podcasts, we have our playbook that's up there. It's really cool and fun. A lot of fun things over at the Fantasy Coaches. And if you want to hear more about our content, as we shouted out over on Twitter at Coaches Fantasy, you can also subscribe to us on YouTube at The Fantasy Coaches. Like us on Facebook at The Fantasy Coaches. Just help us out overall. Maybe give us a little like and comment on our Apple Podcast page or Spotify page, whatever you want to do. We'd appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll be back next week for Monday. Talk about some waiver wire pickups for week 8. Hopefully, you guys, week 7 is great. And of course, if you have any questions, please just DM us at any time here. So thank you all for listening. Take care and have a good one.